Hey, everybody. This is Rick Del Santo in the PWZ podcast. I am here with another very special guest returning to the show for the first time in a couple months. It's Showtime, Marcel Williams. What's going on, my man?
What's going on, Rick? How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm getting ready for Rampage and going live right after on YouTube. So I hope everybody tunes into that. Talk a
Yeah,
lot of
see,
shit.
it's going to be a big night for AEW, make or break. So hopefully, they provide the surprise that everybody's waiting for, or we're going to be looking at another, he's a good talent, but Christian Cage situation.
Okay, so I'm not the only one that thought that.
Yeah.
So I know some people are like, "Oh, this is so awesome." I'm like, "Oh, he's great," but it wasn't as exciting as it should have been. Because I mean, if I was in that crowd, somebody that was there, I had a friend that was there. I don't know if you know my buddy Will. He goes down to the shows every so often in Florida, and he said the place like really popped for that. And I'm like, I really can't imagine that, but you
I
know,
mean, it's nothing against Christian Cage.
not at all,
He's
not at all.
I love him, but he has done it all. He's very underrated.
Yeah,
Should he have had a bigger role in WWE? Absolutely. And he did it in TNA at the time, so why not? He couldn't do it there. It's just those certain situations where somebody may have that it and he didn't have that it. To me, I thought he had the it factor as a heel, truthfully.
hmm
But I mean, he's a nice asset to AEW. You know what I'm saying? Like to help in
yeah.
the back and to do the storytelling in the ring as well. So I really wasn't mad at it, but for them to say that was a big Hall of Fame talent that will make a difference, that wasn't it. I mean, if they would have had Edge coming, maybe. You know what I'm saying? But
I was more I was more a Christian fan than I was an Edge fan because I thought he was the better wrestler. But it's all a
yeah.
matter of opinion, really.
Well, while we talking about Edge before we segue
Yeah.
everything else, I will never forget that promo he did. This was like late, I think 2004, and he did that Hill promo where he said that he never had a world championship shot, and that would like lay the groundwork for him to like say that he's the number one contender or whatever it is. And he went through the whole Money in the Bank deal. I was like, this dude, right? He never, throughout the whole Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era, he never had a world championship shot. So when he did that, that kind of like boosted him up a little bit. But
Right.
Christian, he had to leave to go to TNA to do that. But maybe if they did the same deal, which I thought he was on a ride around that time because you remember they had him face John Cena with Kurt Angle involved, or with Chris Jericho involved, and that was a little push for him, which you thought it was his little coming out party, but then they put him back down the card again. And that's when he left the first time. But yeah, it's I'm just glad that AEW is getting it together where they got enough talent roster already, but for them to have these two assets in the future, it's a great time to be a wrestling fan right
It really is, and I think we discussed that the last time you were on, how great it is to be a wrestling fan because there's so much out there today. And
now.
AEW is really like I know that I give AEW a lot of flack sometimes. I really do, but they are doing something like they're bringing in a lot of talent that deserves a lot of indie talent. Guys that were on the indies for years that really deserve that shot. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's the good thing about them. And I mean, a lot of guys from our area are going or ended up on their show. On Dark or Dark Elevation. Look at like Waves and Curls was out there. Robo was out there. Rick Recon, Vanish was out there. A bunch of guys. You know what I mean? There's a
A
lot of
lot of
guys that
guys.
made it out there. So and Lucas Chase. There's a lot of guys that really like got a shot out there, which is pretty awesome in itself. I think.
Yeah, it's good because you get more eyes on not only your brand, but
Hmm.
you get more eyes because if you show up on Dark, you never know. You gotta look more to like, damn, I like this dude's look or I like the way his movement is. No matter if it's a squash match or not, like still
Hmm.
some guys feel like heck, his movement is kind of great what he did here, and then you might get like Danny Limelight, like he got signed for MLW.
That guy's
Like
amazing. Yeah.
this did Dark for like almost 2 or 3 months, and then like they didn't want him, and then MLW took him, and he was working New Japan Strong. So it's
Yeah, I
like,
was watching him. I was watching him in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and New Japan Strong. So I knew about him well before he went to AEW. And I really thought like he was working. What's that?
nah, but see, you know that, but see, that's the
Yeah,
first I ever seen him on AEW. So that's what I'm saying. It helps out. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. It does. It gets the eyes on other brands. You know what I mean? So that's a really good thing for the talent, and maybe guys like Paradise Alley. You know what I mean? If they know somebody was trained there, they might look into that kind of a thing. So that's pretty interesting. So I like that. And I don't know. Like I said, I always give them a hard time, but AEW has come a long way since the beginning. Like I always thought that it's good, but there's some kinks to work out. They worked out a lot of the kinks, but there's still a lot of ridiculousness there that I don't necessarily, because I'm old school. I'm old school when it comes to professional wrestling. So but some of my favorite wrestlers are ending up there. Thunder Rosa is there. A lot of people that I absolutely love to watch and are signing there. So I tune in.
Yeah, but you gotta understand too, the Thunder Rosas and the Christian Cage, those are the ones that are CM Punk. Those are the ones that are gonna come in and make the difference now. Because those people fit into the big time, and they know what it's like to cool down the foolishness or the dives or whatever it is, to position certain situations in a match that everybody else is doing in a certain match. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So at first, because if you look at AEW since existence, um, when they first started with the first show, and then they went into Dynamite and all that stuff, they was doing whatever they wanted. Like tag matches had no rules. And then I guess one time Jericho was like, "Yo, listen, like y'all need to do tag team wrestling for real. Like there's no rules. The referee just stand there looking stupid." And then after a while, they had to do some changes because those people was like, "Yo, listen, like if you want them, because everybody likes a different style. I consider like." AEW is like WCW when they had the Cruiserweight. So basically, like that new style everybody's seeing now instead of that same old WWE style for each segment. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I feel like, just like you said, they came a long way. They have come a long way where they use that indie style, but they use it for TV. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And this guy's like what was it, Joey Janela, that probably been on the indies for probably a good 10, 15 years, and he got a shot there. They signed him immediately. He was like one of the first guys, that signed with the company, first 20 guys, whatever, guys like that. They had a lot of looseness with their early pay-per-views prior to actually debuting on national TV, and some of it was just like eye-rolling material. You know what I mean? It's just like, I can't believe, yeah, like the stuff in the battle royals, they were just like going all like, what is going on here? But hey, it's been almost 2 years since they've been on TV, so they're doing something. You know what I mean? They have a fan base that's really getting them there.
Yeah. Not only that, too, since we own AEW, I watched their first Rampage, and the first Rampage was so good. And I ain't talking about like the wrestling, like not only the wrestling, but production wise. They knew how to do it timing. Like they did it like Saturday night's main event, where Saturday night's main event start off with the big match first, and then they segue into the middle match, was just quick, and then the main event was the women's match, because obviously she's a hometown person. And then the promos was done different, where they had, before the main event started, they had a split screen with Mark Henry, and then the two go back and forth with each other. You know what I'm saying? So they did Rampage different from Dynamite, and I like that, because they could have did it just like WWE does it. They do Raw and SmackDown. You don't even know which one is different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like everything. The only thing that's different is the color of the presentation. One's red, one's blue, and it's the same exact. They've been doing the same exact format, if you notice, since 1998. For 24 years, they've been doing the same exact format, and it's a stale format. It's like wrestlers have too much control on screen. I mean, you know what I mean? They come out as like, "Hey, I want a match with you," and then all of a sudden there's a match. It's like, when did that become a thing? You know?
Yeah, I think we did. Promo, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, we have a tag team match right here," and you like, "Hold up, why you didn't just say that we just do the pyro and say, oh, we gonna do this just like AEW does, actually AEW took that from Nitro. You sit there, you be like, okay, well, we gonna sit here and start off this, but up next we gonna start this off and then start it up. You sit there having a whole conversation, and then all of a sudden you like, okay, we did 20 minutes of this set up this tag team match between Nia Jax and Charlotte Flair versus Rhea and Nikki. Like, why you just started off with that with the match card and say, okay, bam, here we go.
Yeah, they have to have some they have to have some dramatic like entrance to set up without actually just starting it. Or, if you go back 10 years prior to that, to say like in the early 90s, they always used to just give a rundown of all the matches that were going to happen. You know what I mean? And some of them, they weren't necessarily announced. There'd be like 2 squash matches in between or whatever. But it's like they treated it like it was a big event or like a sport. You know what I mean? Like a fight. So just go back to that or try and see if that works. AEW does that every week. They announce pretty much the entire card within 3-4 days of the show happening, and it seems to work. But WWE just doesn't give any information until 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
like when it comes on.
Everybody watch Twitter. And I'm like, I'll watch Twitter to even know what's going on. Right. I just turned on the channel. I'm like, oh, y'all having promo. Oh, we announced this on Twitter. I'm like, okay, well, you announced it on Twitter, but then you just had a 20-minute promo. And you would expect me to sit there and get interested. First of all, the 20-minute promo already turned me off. You already started the whole show with that. You do it. You've been doing it, like you said, since 1998. It is like, come on, the formula never changed. They do SmackDown the same way. You try to do the brand split, because now we segue into WWE now. The brand split is it's not a brand split. It's the same company. Right. It's what you're doing. You should make the other shows start off hot and then have Raw do what it's been doing for whatever years it's been doing. It's been since 1993. You never started off with that formula in 1993. So.
Don't you think if a show started off hot, it would keep people tuned in? You know what I mean? Rather than just have a 20-minute promo.
I mean, it would. I mean, it goes back to oh man, I didn't watch the wrestling for so long. 2002. Okay, 2002. You got Triple H. Triple H was going on every Monday, doing a 20-minute promo of how great of a world champion. And if he lost, he'll come out the next day and be like, oh, well, Batista beat me, and that's okay, but that was only one night, and one night means you're lucky, but, Backlash, we're going to prove you wrong that was just one night. You know what I'm saying? So you're like, okay, dude, you lost everything. Why you just can't start off?
Well, I think that also started the time period where he just started burying everybody as well. Where he started beat
every WCW star known existence. ECW as well. He did RVD. They call it I found that out years ago. It's the Reign of Terror. The Reign of Terror of Triple H. Yeah.
Do you know how petty he was? A good 15 years after, maybe I might be off by a few years, but good 15 years after WCW ended, he still had to beat Sting in the middle of the ring, even though it was WCW had been closed for a good 15 years. I'm like, WWE really holds on to that grudge, for that long.
Yeah, they do. And then all that, you have the whole storyline between Sting and Triple H about WCW, which was, like you said, it had been dead back then, 15 years ago. So then you sit here talking about a whole story, and then I like Triple H. Triple H is great. He paid his dues.
He's great, yeah.
But the thing is, you sit here talking about y'all was the 2 stars that was the mainstays, not the mainstays, but the biggest stars that drew at the Attitude Era. And Sting kind of was, but Sting was under the NWO. I love Sting. But then you had Triple H that was under The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and even Undertaker at the time. So it was 2 lower main eventers going at it.
They're on the list. Yeah, they're on the list, but they're in the middle to that headlining list. You know what I mean? The NWO was huge, and there was at least 5 guys that were headliners, and then and then Sting, and then obviously guys like Goldberg and stuff like that, and and then so it's and then WWE, it was The Rock and Austin, and then I don't know where. I'd probably have to say Triple H was actually number 5, probably, because I think Foley would probably be above him.
Yes, you had Foley, you had Austin ahead of him. You even had, I hate to say it, but you even had the Big Show at the time ahead of him because he was coming from WCW. So
And that
his
was a big grab
competition
for
was
WWF at the time too.
especially at that time, yeah, because
Yeah,
WCW was kind of hot, and people started thought. But then it was him, and then Jericho came, and then after that, then what killed it was what killed. And we talking about a lot of history here. What really killed WCW legit, and people talk about Goldberg losing the streak or whatever it is. What really killed it for real was when they lost to Radical. That was it. If you look
I'd have
at
to say, because they were didn't Benoit win the belt and then they just left the next day or something to that
they left
effect?
because if you really look at say that's the thing with me when I look at wrestling, I look at like production and logistics of it all. If you look at all the when they was having Nitro and Thunder, like when the arena started getting darkened, when they started losing fans, it started happening right after the Radicals left because they were still drawing good with Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero and all them, and because they had the workhorses there. But when they left and that Thunder and Nitro after that, the whole arena just went dark because now they don't lost
I mean,
their.
the writing was not the writing was not the greatest either at the
Oh, the
time.
writing wasn't
Russo,
great. Still had the talent there, but when they
they
left,
still
that
had
was
the
it.
talent, and some of the action. If you watch it, minus the ridiculous storylines and what have you, there might have been some, I don't know, some stupid stipulation. If
hmm
you go back and watch some of that stuff during the Russo era, some of the action, the crowd is hot for some of these matches. Like
Yeah.
legitimately, like it is. Because I went back because I watched some review of some Russo era pay per view, and they were talking about how intense the crowd was and like behind everything. And I'm just like, let me go back and watch. I was like, this was one of the most like electric crowds I had because I don't remember, because it's like sometimes you got to
Yeah.
go back and watch. It's 20 something years ago, so it was like maybe I know Russo did a lot of really bad stuff in WCW. They gave him way too much freedom. But some of the stuff may not be necessarily as bad. Maybe he did some things right, but he wasn't
No,
filtered like he was in WWE.
yeah, you're right. And the thing is, I caught one of them before because I know I'd never seen this match on Nitro before, but when he was in charge, they had Chris Benoit versus Sting. I was like, I never thought that match ever happened. So you could tell, like, when he was trying to come in, he was trying to push the young talent. He was trying to, like,
Yes.
the needle a little bit. But when he first came around October, because I remember that week when he came in because you could tell the difference between the product. So when he came in, um, he was trying to push the young talent. He was trying to move out the
That was his
old
thing.
talent,
Yeah.
Hogan. Yeah, but it's but he moved the needle a little bit. I think they went down to 2 point something before he came in, and then like it pushed the needle a little bit. I think it went to like 3.2, and he made a little difference. But he say, I was watching a podcast, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they was talking about, I think it was talking about his writing, what he was doing with AEW. So they had the Nick Gage thing or whatever, and they had a Thunder
With
Rosa
the
Run.
him and
Yeah,
Jericho or
so
whatever.
all
Yeah.
this violence on TNT, and they're like, okay, well, what's the difference between now than back then when Russo was like the censors was giving him a hard time where he couldn't book right? So you're like, okay, well, like, was he lying or did really TNT told him not to do anything, or what was going on here?
It's hard to know what to believe with him sometimes. You might, he's I don't know. He seems like a really good dude. He's funny and he defends his stuff a lot. He'll defend it to the grave, as bad as some of that stuff is. But it's like sometimes I just
Yeah,
don't know what to believe with him. Like as far as like certain things go, the way like behind the scenes went. So
like certain things where he tried to expose the business to make some type of difference in WCW, he's like having all the commentators say it's a work or did this guy really want to go do this move? And having Hogan,
Right.
it's like, hey, dude, like you could have just kept the same formula what WCW was doing, just make it a little different. But I mean, I look back at it. The Attitude Era wasn't that good either when he was like. I think the best year of WWE was 2000 when he was
Did
gone.
we discuss this? Did we discuss the Attitude Era before last time you were on and how I felt about it?
I don't think. I think it was like a little like cup of coffee conversation where it was like,
All right,
like
because if you go back and watch some of this Attitude Era stuff, it's really not that great. It does not hold up by today's stand. It's like I'm watching it. There's like Goldust coming out in bondage gear. I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? Stupid stuff like that, and it's just like and then you come out and you get the oddities. You know what I mean? And then Kurgan, not Kurgan. What's his name? Was that his name?
I just watched Kurgan. Yeah, it was Kurgan. So him and you had Earthquake under the mask as
Yep. So it's like I'm watching it, and it's just like this stuff does not hold up. And some people, and if you watch online, and I'm sure you see this, like people are begging for the Attitude Era to come back, and I'm just like, yeah, go back, and because it's like, oh, I want to watch this match off of pay-per-view, and then all the matches underneath it, it's just like I'm just like, holy shit, how did I watch this 20-something years ago and think that this shit was great?
But it was a reverse factor too, because why WWE was hot just for the main event. WCW had a good undercard, but the main event was shit. It was like
they had the luchadors, they had the technical guys, they had all sorts of really good stuff undercard stuff. WCW. Yep, they always did a lot of great stuff. WCW. I was a WCW guy, really. It was I know I've said this before on the podcast that once I discovered NWA and WCW. Yeah, once I discovered the NWA in like 1986 or 85, something like that. I became obsessed with it. Like, I thought that was like, because it was presented in a more sports-like thing, whereas like a lot of WWF stuff, you had Junkyard Dog coming out dancing, you had Coco Beware with a freaking bird, you had a guy with a snake, you had a security guard, all this stuff. But you didn't have that really in NWA. You guys, it was a darkened arena, and everything was treated like it was a big fight field in a lot of these arenas, and I was just like, this is so cool. Like, the funny part about it, as a kid, I was just like, NWA is real. There's no way. It's NWA is real. Because everybody's like, it was like, there's no way NWA is fake. Because there was blood, and it's like all that stuff. Like, they never did. During my youth, I can't really think of any bloody matches during, during WWF, really. Outside of like maybe in the later in like the 90s with like Austin and Brett, and then I know Hogan bled like once, but I don't know if that was real or not.
As a kid, because he's right, NWA, WCW, NWA before that, you already knew you had Dusty Rose waiting or whatever it is, and then I think the only thing I remember from WWF at the time was Brett and Piper from WrestleMania 8 when he bled. I remember the snake from Macho Man Randy Savage. I remember we talking about blood here. Brett and British Bulldog from In Your House in December of '95. I remember that. Like all these blood matches, I do remember, and from WWE because it's rare. But when I watched freaking 1987 Great American Bash War Games, the first ever one, and everybody blading in there, I was like on cloud nine, like what the hell is this? Like my favorite match always been the Royal Rumble, but the thing is, War Games was one of them too. Because like, I was like, okay, this is different. You got 2 rings, 2 cages, you do whatever the hell you want in there. And you got a heel. At the time, I didn't know what a heel or face was. I knew they was the bad guy or whatever, but when they went in there, they went to war for like a good half an hour. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, man. I fell in love with it. God bless my grandfather, but he put me in love with it. I watched WrestleMania 3. That was the first thing I ever watched. I was like, damn, there's a lot of people. The production at the time was great. But then when he put me on to when he pulled out goes back to Great American Bash 87 Turner Home Entertainment VHS tape. He pulled that out. I was like,
Yes. I
what
used to
is
rent
this?
that from the Tommy K's in West. If you Tommy K's in New Haven, the Westvilles, I used to rent that one from there all the time when I was a kid and watch that. So,
Yes, yes. You had the little opening with the Turner Home. Is it? No, and then
yep.
you knew it was real. You was like, okay, this is it right here. The Danger Zone. You had the Danger Zone tape. You had
Oh, I
dang
got
man,
that one.
saw the age
I had
right
the
now.
Danger Zone. Yeah, some of those, man. I used to have some of those. Eventually, when I got
No
into
doubt.
buying tapes. You do? Oh,
Yeah,
that's awesome, dude.
you
The
know,
Danger Zone was a cool one.
I got the War Games one. I got all type of tapes in the closet here. My
The
wife
War
won't let me.
Games. If I remember correctly, does the War Games one have like Jimmy Garvin and Ric Flair in
Yes,
there? Okay,
yes.
so that match I thought was an incredible match because if I remember correctly, you can just hear Flair like when they were he had him in the figure four, and you can hear Flair going ah shit like the whole
Yes,
time.
yes,
And
with
I
the
thought
whole
that,
big
and I thought as a kid I was like, oh my god, he's swearing, he's really in pain. This is awesome.
You had the
So
Rock and Roll Express versus Midnight Express for the United States Tag Team titles and the
yep,
NWA Tag titles. And you had the second War Games at the Orange Bowl.
yes.
It was a good tape, and I got that tape in there. He had a lot of stuff on that tape. Tag man, I got. I'm about
I'm
to pull
trying
it
to
right here.
remember what else was on there because there was so much, and it probably been a number of years since I've seen that, and I highly doubt that'll ever make it to the network, Peacock, whatever you want to call it these days. But maybe YouTube. I don't know. So maybe somebody was smart enough to upload them.
I know the tape is on Daily Motion though. I found on Daily.
Oh, I use that. Yeah, I find my New Japan the following day most of the time.
There we go.
So, I mean, I didn't say that on air. I didn't say that.
yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, man, it's like we live in a great time right now for professional wrestling because when we grew up, I mean, you're an '80s kid, right?
Yes.
Growing up in the '80s for the most part, it was a great time for period for professional wrestling, and I used to be able to watch groups like Mid Atlantic, and then Florida Wrestling, AWA, Pro Wrestling USA. There used to be world class, all sorts of random organizations, like depending on the channel. In New Haven, you used to get in the city of New Haven, you used to sometimes get like a random channel that would have something. So there hasn't really been this much wrestling on like since the '80s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like so much wrestling right now. Or yeah, and so it's pretty bizarre and it's awesome at the same time because it gives you so much of a choice. Like if you don't like something, you can just always watch something else. But me, I usually watch it all for the most part. I might not be up to
I,
date on it all.
I don't discriminate. I watch it all. I know a lot of people be like they was a ECW fan. I wasn't. I mean, I watched it for certain wrestling where RVD. I was amazed by watching RVD and Jerry Lynn do like different stuff, or Lance Storm versus the RVD. But that hardcore stuff I wasn't into. So I was like mostly into like the real like NWA, like WCW product. I watched WWE because that was the thing to watch, and especially the Northeast.
Right.
Besides that, yeah, I just like my bad. I'm looking for my TNT network over here. I'm trying to change it.
It's not time, is it? No, we still got a half an hour. Yeah.
We got time. We good.
I was gonna say, man, don't freak me out. Man. No, but
yeah,
yeah, that's all right. I got the TV on in front of me. I got SmackDown on right now. And this is the first time I've tuned in to SmackDown in probably 6 months. So, but
it's alright.
I'm like I said, you can always choose to find something different. Forgot what I was going to say before that. ECW. You mentioned ECW. That's something that by today's, at the time I was kind of into hardcore stuff, but nothing like crazy. It was a lot of that Japanese stuff that like really became like influenced things like CZW. It's like that was just a little bit too extreme for me. Like ECW at the time in its infancy when they were doing that stuff, it was pretty crazy. But then other groups started doing like more crazy stuff. So it's like it kind of turned me off to that style. So when it comes to ECW, I don't think a lot of that stuff holds up. And some people think I'm completely insane because they think it's, um, they basically think ECW is the greatest thing on earth. And I think that you and I, maybe I've spoke to you about this. It's like the hardcore stuff. It's like ECW was like for the hardcore wrestling fan because it
Absolutely.
gave you a variety of different styles, whether it be the weapons, which became known as hardcore wrestling, or lucha libre, or whatever, what have you, technical wrestling. Because I think the era where RVD and Jerry Lynn are in there, probably was it like 98, 97, 98 they came in there. It's like from then on, it's kind of an overrated period. Now,
Yeah.
mind you, that's when I was heavily going to ECW shows and I was enjoying it. But I'm going back and watching some of it, and I was just like, Jesus, this is not nearly as good as I thought it was at that time period, with the exception of certain matches.
Yes.
My favorite, and somebody called me crazy the other day, or a couple of weeks ago, because I said that my favorite period of ECW is the 94 to 96 period, where they were just kind of, had guys like Benoit, Guerrero, Jericho, the Luchadors, Dean Malenko, and that was like really my favorite period. I used to stay up on MSG, stay up every night and watching an MSG at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I worked literally in Amity Stop and Shop. I'd get off at midnight. I'd go home and I'd stay awake and wait for that to come on Saturday nights. So
The only reason it's funny because I got exposed to hardcore wrestling when I watched Spring Stampede 1994. It was the Nasty Boys versus Max Payne and Cactus Jack. And I was like, this shit is fun. Like, this shit is fun. Like, I've seen chairs can get hit with chairs or whatever, but when I seen that match, I was like, okay. And then
when WCW attempted hardcore wrestling, it was more like softcore wrestling in a way.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
But it's Mick Foley who was like the leader.
Yeah, but when I did that match, I was like, because it was kind of like a magic in a bottle, because Nasty Boys always worked that style anyway. So you had them, and then you had Cactus Jack. Yeah, so it was like that match was like made for that night for it to happen. And then when I seen it, I was like, okay, now. And then I segued to ECW. Only reason I found ECW because one day at the time, this is how old we all are. The fucking TV guy, you look through it and you see 2 o'clock in the morning for wrestling, and I was like, oh, there's wrestling at 2 o'clock in the morning Saturday. What is it? And I looked. I was like, oh, this is. I didn't even know it was ECW. I was looking, and then I seen all the former stars that left, that they go to different promotions. Like when I seen Austin, I'm like, okay, this is where Austin went, and all this other stuff. So like, I got that later on when I looked at it. I was like, okay, this is where all the people go in between before they go to the WWF.
Yeah, a lot of guys left WC, or vice versa sometimes. Yeah, but not as often. It's funny that you mentioned the TV Guide. It's because I used to. You remember the TV Guide channel, which would you just sit there and it'd scroll through the thing. Before you just had to hit something simple like the guide button on your remote. You had to actually sit there and watch the TV Guide channel to see what was coming on, what channel at what time, yada yada. I used to sit there and watch it. I'd sit there and watch it for like a good 10 minutes and go through a cycle to see if any wrestling was going to come on. This is how bad I was back in the day, man.
Yeah, I mean, I used to, man, it's so crazy because like when I think about it, I used to, my grandpa and my grandma used to watch the story between 9 and 3 on ABC. I used to wait till they was done, and I'll pull up like a wrestling tape. I only had one to watch per day, and I'll pick one, and then he put it on, and then I used to like that time. I'd be picking the like. Hopefully, this is the best one because he had tapes for days of wrestling in his case, and that's when I started recording wrestling off the TV and stuff, and just started saving them. But he had some old stuff where I've been watching like WrestleMania 5 or 6, and And I didn't even know Hogan was facing Ultimate Warrior until I looked on TV. I was like, oh, okay, this is different. They're like, I wanted, because back then you didn't see a face versus face. Even when you seen like
Yes.
Brett versus Roddy Piper, you're like, okay, well that's different because people love Piper, and then Brett is on the come up, so it was like it was different. But yeah, man,
If you,
it was
if you
time to
think
be alive.
about it, WWF did that quite a bit at that time period.
I think it was
Because
kind of
you're
like
saying
pamphlet.
you see
It
Brett
was,
versus Piper. They also did Brett or not Brett or Brett. Yeah, Brett versus Davy Boy. In England,
it
you know what I mean. So they did it quite a few times in that time period, which is kind of bizarre. You know what I mean to think about it. I
was
guess
for a hot minute because you remember they did the Rumble and Rumble '96. They did Undertaker versus Bret Hart the first match,
right.
and
Yeah.
perfect.
Was that
You know,
Undertaker was a babyface at that time period? Because I know he'd switch back and forth so much at that time period. So
he was a babyface going into the feud with Diesel at the time. So they
I gotcha.
experimented with that. So it's like, and then they go back. They experimented at Survivor Series '95 with Diesel versus Brett, second match, because they both was babyface. That's when he powerbombed him like 3 times or whatever. But they've been doing that for years, where they try to like experiment it and just like, oh, well, we're gonna try this to see who the favorite is, you know. But
Sometimes it works out because the crowd reaction could be really intense. You know what I mean? If it's a baby face versus baby face, it's like who are the fans going to cheer for? You know what I mean? It's like, well, they'll cheer for both for the most part. You know, unless somebody eventually in the match turns heel. So,
that
which
and the match is
yeah,
competitive too, because you got two baby faces
yes,
that really go in there and do what they need to do. And you're like, okay, well, I want this one to win, and then they know how to like motion the match where they got both comebacks that you want to see. You
right.
know what I'm saying? Yeah, one aggressor or whatever it is. So yeah, those babyface matches when they did them, it was special. I mean, nowadays when they do them, I really, I
I hate to say it, WWE doesn't do a whole hell of a lot that's like special. I mean, not no offense to WWE, or maybe it's just to me. You know what I mean? Because I know some people still get really invested in it. Like, was it tomorrow night SummerSlam? I'm not really invested in the Roman Reigns John Cena match. The funny thing is, I was never a John Cena fan, but when he came out at the last pay per view, I did kind of. I was like, wow, you know, that's really
I was like,
pretty
wow,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was
I
like,
was
they
saying,
actually did this. Yeah, but
I'm
it's
not a
like,
fan either, but I'll pop too. I was like, okay, like we see this, okay.
yeah. I mean, and it also depends on like he'd been gone for so long, probably over a year, right? About approximately. So the crowd reaction definitely helped, and I think one of the things is like he was one of my least favorite wrestlers forever because I
Yes.
think they just shoved. I don't like it when they shove people down your throat so much to try to get you to like them so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like the guy's not that
Try
great,
to,
and it's
they really try to make him the next. Well, now you look at it now, he is. To me, I can't say it. He is like the greatest star for them to have. Let me tell you why. Because
I'll
he
listen.
had he had the longevity more
Yeah,
than Steve Austin. Steve Austin made the Bucks. Don't get me wrong, he made the Bucks for the company to make it public or whatever it was. But longevity wise, you gotta
yeah.
give it to Cena. I mean, you had Hogan where he did from '85 to 1993, and that was it. And then he had to come back and do that little cup of coffee run in '93. But for continuously, where Cena did it from 2005 all the way to 2019 or whatever it is, that's a longevity stay in WWE. So I give him that.
Well, don't forget, because of Austin, he messed up his neck. He really couldn't go that long.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And he was working on two bum knees as well.
yeah.
For a number of years. So if you notice the earlier matches, not earlier, but after a couple of years, he's got one knee brace, and then a couple of years later, he's got two knee braces on. He's working
Yep.
with two knee braces, a fucked up neck. So, he was bound to retire at a young age, but good for him. I mean, he's still making a shit ton of money doing whatever he's
Is
doing.
yeah, yeah,
Have you tried
yeah.
his? Have you tried his?
They pay. when Austin was hurt, yeah, that would shorten his run. He had a great run though.
He did. He was a really great technical wrestler. It's like after he broke his neck, he modified his style to become a brawler, but he was never really boring either. You know what I mean? He
Nah,
was one of. I always thought he was a great wrestler prior to, the neck. I mean, prior to that, as a great technical wrestler, but then he became a brawler for the most part after that, and it fit his character the most.
yeah, that's what killed it. The neck from Owen Hart. That was it. That just changed
Yeah.
his whole lifestyle because he was having good matches with Bret Hart before that even happened with Bret or Shawn Michaels at the
Yeah.
time. So
I mean, he still put on some
that's why,
decent matches after that. So
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But that's why I seen that look when you was like, "Yo, John Cena." Like, why is that longevity? That's why longevity.
I'm not going to disagree. One of the things that I don't agree with is though that they tied his title wins with Flair. Uh, a lot of people, I guess, this is kind of a big deal with some people because I'm going to say that, like, to me in 2021, I was always a Ric Flair guy growing up. He's the greatest of all time. I don't think anybody should have come close, or at least they could get to 15 and never touch 16, because there hasn't been anyone at the equivalent of Flair at all, in my personal
Yeah.
opinion. So I
No,
could be,
no. Listen, you right. I was tight that he tied up with him. The thing
I was
is,
furious. I was very mad.
I was
I
so
just,
mad. So I was like, okay. But then I understand because you got somebody like Triple H and all these people that have been wrestling since
I mean, Triple
whatever.
H is a good wrestler too, who maybe he could have been the guy because he's the one that's more of a similar style to
Yeah.
Flair than someone like Cena. Cena works more of an entertainment style, if you catch my drift. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I thought Triple
So,
H was going to be truthfully. If
yeah,
you ask me,
I mean,
Triple H was going to I thought he was going to like make it 17 or 18 or whatever.
right. And I think
But
it's
I
going to
think
be
he
a while.
didn't do it out of respect though.
I think so. But I'm wondering if you think, I don't know, are you watching SummerSlam tomorrow? I'd have to say most likely, maybe.
I'm a
You
fan, so I'm
hesitate,
gonna watch it. I
right?
watch it. You know what? I watch it for certain matches like Bianca Blair.
She's awesome. I
Yeah,
love
she
her.
is great. It's Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
That's the only one that tempts me to watch it. I do want to watch the Roman Reigns match because it's a different matchup that was back in No Mercy when they
Right.
had face versus face. So now he's a heel. Now I want to see how they go work. But besides that, the whole SummerSlam card is not good. It's not good. On paper, they only got is a 2 match card. That's it. It's 2 match.
Yeah.
Actually 3 match.
I'll
So you got
probably,
Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley.
I might watch it Sunday morning. Fast forward through the stuff that I want
Yeah,
to watch. You catch what I'm saying?
yeah. I feel you. Feel you on that one.
So yeah, we got a few more minutes to go before we. All right, sorry. Anyways, you've got Rumble in Paradise coming up 6 days away.
Yes, we
Let's
do.
talk. Let's talk about this because this is going to be a big show for you guys, and it's on Fight for the first time. And it's at a low cost of $9.99. So I urge any fan out there to please go purchase this if you cannot be there in person. I will be there in person. I'll be covering the event, and I'm going to do a full review either later in the morning or the following morning. Later in the evening, sorry, and following morning, because this is going to me, I'm excited that you guys are on Fight. So I did double. I got it. I did double. I'm going to be there in person, and I bought the pay-per-view just because I want to support my favorite promotion right now. So, and I'm so happy that you guys are going to be on Fight.
Yeah, man. It's a big deal for Paradise Alley. I mean, we have done some big things before where we tagged up with Evolve, and then we
Yep.
did Mohican and all these other stuff. But this is legit the big deal where we're trying to go into a different avenue of Fight TV. So, and we started off with the Rumble in Paradise, which is a stacked card. If you look at it, you got Holiday versus Matias, which is a big story behind that. and then you got the big tag team match with House of Pain with their 700+ day title reign against Waves and Curl, the Red Hot Waves and Curl.
So
And
can I ask you something before you go further? Does this mean the
yeah,
Tri-State Kings are no longer a unit, or like I mean, you guys are on different sides of the fence. It seems. I know last time we
I
talked about
think
this.
on the side of the fence. I mean, we're cool. We all Tri-State Kings is somewhere in the air around there, but like
Oh,
we're
all
on a
right.
different. They see a different type of situation where they dominate the tag team scene, and they do things that I may agree with, but I may not agree with because it's about the future. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
about the Kyline King, about the splashes or whatever it is, because it's about the evolution of the business. So I got respect for the youth in TAPW, and I see it different. But yeah, Tri-State Kings is still there. We're still cool.
All right, all right. This came to my head like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, you guys ain't, you guys are on different sides of the fence these days.
I
So,
hear that all the time. I hear that from you and everybody's like, "Yo, what's up with Tri-State Kings? Did y'all love the Tri-State Kings?" Because I mean, if y'all love, I mean,
hey,
I liked it.
you
It
know,
was fun.
there's some things that Paradise Alley are doing right now that are phenomenal right now. That I really, like I said, I really urge people to get on board. And at the pay per view is $9.99. You can't go wrong purchasing this
You
pay
can't
per
beat
view.
that. Yeah, you can't beat
Exactly.
that.
You can't beat that. So because you're gonna get Richard Holiday and Matthias for the PAPW title. It's gonna be a phenomenal match right there. It's a great main event. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, uh, what else is there? There's the tag team titles that you just mentioned. The Haven and the Brick City Boys. The Brick City Boys turned on the Haven at the couple shows ago at Emergence, and
In the Rumble in Paradise match. Oh, and the
the
Kyline
Rumble.
King Challenge. Yeah.
Yes, he's got an open challenge.
There's
I'm
so many
kind of
things.
nervous about that. Yeah, this is I'm Kylan King's one of the best today independent wrestlers in the business in the Northeast area. This kid is killing it. I'm telling you right
Yeah.
now. This kid he's become one of my favorites to watch. I actually made a best of recently. I don't know if you've seen it, but I put it up on YouTube about 2-3 days ago. I made a best all footage that I recorded this year of the shows, and I selected certain matches. We can talk more about that later, but 2021 ECW women's ECWA Super 8 champion Megan Bain is going to be there against what's it, Becca? Is that
That's
right?
right. There's a change of plans in that. That was
What?
yeah, because they got plans somewhere else, which is way beyond our control. So that's why
Dang.
the Kylan Open Challenge is happening.
Damn,
Yeah.
I was really looking
I was
forward to
looking
that,
forward to
man.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it too. But yeah, we got a run in put in, so we're just gonna plan them for a later date. I guess CFP gonna plan for a later date.
Please, because I was really looking forward to that match. I thought that was going to be a great match, and it's been a while since Paradise Alley had a women's match. I think
Absolutely, and
so.
I fully agree.
And I'm trying to think. The Rumble in Paradise, you got a bunch of guys announced. Are you guys going to be announcing any other names, or is it just up in the air?
Well, what I hear is I think it's supposed to be a few more names, but that's mostly the rest of them gonna be surprises. Um, obviously I'm in it, but it just you got a lot of names in there that's been announced. You
Yeah.
got R.J. Rude, you got Dane Bernardo, you got Flash, Kylon King. You got a lot of people that is a who's who in PHW or in the independent scene.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the challenge. Basically, 29 of the. But you even got Mario Mancini. Like,
I know. Is Roma in it, or is that is Roma going to
I heard
compete, or is
that
that?
the rumor that he's supposed to be in it, but we shall see. I don't know. He
I
got
mean,
signed at.
if you've seen that video, I think that he's gonna. That convinced me that he's gonna pop up. And I'm gonna tell you something. I've been a huge Paul Roma fan since about 1986, 1987. I'm gonna fucking pop. I'll tell you. Like I will mark out like a heavy. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I
uh,
mean, everybody's kind of looking forward to the event. I've been hearing a lot of good stuff about it, and it just hopefully Delta variant don't mess it up any more than it already is. Because I know now we've been pushed with a limited capacity now, and mask is required. I went to JCC the other day, and it was like if they don't have a mask, they basically shut the whole show down or anything that they have there. So I just say right now, whoever's watching, wear a mask and just enjoy the show. It's going to be a great show, and you won't be disappointed.
You're definitely not going to be disappointed if anybody listens to me and take my word for the love of God, this will be a great show. Your $9.99 will not be wasted. It's definitely going to be a great show. And if you live in the greater New Haven area, come down. Get tickets online, ParadiseAlleyProWrestling.com, because that's going to be. I'm telling you, it's going to be a fun show. And the JCC is a phenomenal building. I literally grew up within walking distance from that building. So, I down the road, so I'm very familiar with the building. I had to visit it quite a bit growing up in high school and such. So, it's just a really beautiful building in there inside that place. My work sponsors a Scrabble tournament every year through there as well that I take part in. So. So yeah, it's a really cool venue.
Listen, I appreciate the support that you have done for the company because I see it all the time. I share it on my end as well. If PAPW does too, and I appreciate it. I'm glad that we grabbed your fan base, not only you but other new faces that I see come in, and it's just it's a good ride right now. I just want to hopefully PAPW just keep on pushing out the great product that they're supposed to be doing within the Northeast area. Hopefully beyond, but the Northeast area.
Now, whoever wins this Rumble in Paradise will go on to Dieselmania 5 to face whoever is the standing with the belt at the end of the night between the Matthias and Holiday.
Yes.
Correct. So, that's not going to be booked for fight, is it? Or is that not a thing?
Which one?
Dieselmania. That's not going to be booked, is it?
It's coming on Fight TV. Not here. It's going to be on Fight TV later on, not for that night.
Okay.
So it'll probably be on probably later on, like around the end, like beginning of October.
Okay.
So be live. It won't be live like Rumble in Paradise.
That's cool. Whatever. I wasn't sure. So because nothing has been announced as of yet. Anyways, what else you got? Do you have anything else you want to promote before we hit the road?
Well, I'm surprised you asked about Vlad. No, I'm playing.
Okay. Actually, I did have a question set aside, and I forgot about it. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. So you were supposed to take on Vlad at was it Emergence, right? He didn't show up, and Cody Perrin stepped in his way. However, after the match, after you whooped Cody Perrin's ass, Vlad came in and decided to get involved and instigate.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you guys say about this, Punk?
Hey, dude, all I gotta say is I said the other night, I was like, well, he only knows when I'm advertised. He don't know where I'm at, at least not. They don't promote who's gonna come. So obviously you haven't seen him the last few times. So he already know I'm at the Rumble. So if he shows up at the Rumble, that'd be a plus for me because I'm ready for him this time. And he just know what it is. I'm always ready for action, and I was ready for action at Emergence. He won't show up late. So, it's Vlad, you know what I'm saying? Whenever he's ready, I'm ready. But my focus is Dieselmania 5. We already know what the
I want to see you guys collide because I have a feeling to be a pretty insane fight.
Yeah, well, it'll be a fight. I know that. It'll be a fight.
All right, my man. Do you have anything else you want to promote besides that?
Nah, nothing else, man. What you got going on with PWZ podcast?
Well, I've got next week is going to be extremely busy for the PWZ. I got ring announcer extraordinaire Matt DeCourt coming on, and as well on Monday evening, and hopefully we can be talking maybe some NXT if I get to watch the show on Sunday night. Right now, other than that,
next time you have a show, I want to come on and talk about NXT.
Hey, if you're gonna watch the NXT pay-per-view or the Peacock show, I don't know, are they still called pay-per-views? They stream. So it's confusing. If you want to talk about that show, say Sunday. Well, I don't know if Sunday night after it aired would be too late for yourself or not, because I sometimes I'll go live. But if you want to do it like, what's that?
I'll be up. I got you.
I'm awake, dude. Like I am a night owl. If you want to go live, or not live, but like if you want to come on after the pay per view's done, dude, I'm ready to talk about it. So you good? All
Good.
right,
I'm
it's
on
set
that.
in stone. It's set in stone now. Now I'm excited. I got someone to record me. So yeah, I guess. And I was originally trying to book Matt the Core for Sunday, but then you said Monday would be better because the NXT Takeover Sunday. I said, oh, all right, whatever. I didn't even know because it's like been such a long time since I've watched NXT, but I've been trying to because I think it's supposed to be an end of an era for a lot of people in NXT coming up. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be a brief period. Yep.
Hopefully. Oh, your boy's on. We watching this live, I guess. Hopefully, I mean, I guess it's CM Punk. They're starting off high, I guess.
Wait, he's not really on, really?
Well, they got some signs. It looked like it. I'm gonna hit the remote real quick. They got his sign. Yes.
Hold on, where? Oh, TNT. Here we go.
Yep. There you go, guy.
Get the fuck out of here. Oh, sorry.
Hey, we live, right? Oh, we recorded.
We're recording. Oh my god. It is true. Oh my god.
They did
CM Punk. Wow.
All right, they did it.
And the crowd is going nuts. I really thought they were going to wait to do this and wait until about halfway through the show. Wow.
They wanted
That's awesome.
they wanted to start all hot.
Wow, that's incredible.
Well, that's a good way to wrap this show up.
It is. Wow, that's awesome. All right, man. So, shoot your social media. Promote your social media.
Social media is at Showtime Marcel for Instagram and Twitter, and I guess also I'm on TikTok. That's Showtime Marcel 1.
I'm gonna look you up. Oh man, I'm on TikTok. I post like 12 TikToks a day regarding the independent wrestling in the Northeast. So, MPWC podcast. I'm looking you up. What's your username on TikTok?
At Showtime Marcel, the number 1. And then now I'm on Facebook. We already know Facebook under Marcel Williams.
All right, my man. I will talk to you on Sunday, that means.
All right, my guy. Be well, be safe, and enjoy Rampage.